Okay guys, welcome to your latest installment of Making a Visual Journal with Miss Iz. So, what are we doing today? Guess what? We're going to have an awesome time. So here's what we're doing. We're reviewing what we've done so far. And I tried to organize a little bit better because it's getting to be a hot mess, right? First thing we did was we organized our pages for our visual journal, right? We've done that. We're awesome. We're rock stars at that. Then we sewed our text block together. Had all that stuff you needed. So we had this glorious text block. Okay, I'm not really messing with it right now. We will later. Okay, so you can set it aside. Okay, we cut our covers and our spine into these beautiful pieces that you're going to need today. This is going to be one of your supplies. You're going to need your back cover, your spine, your front cover, and you're going to need your little flappy thing I told you to keep, right? Woo, your little flappy thing. Okay, so then the last time we watched a video, we gathered or made our own cover paper and we cut it down to certain sizes. We had a spine piece, which you're going to need today, that was 4 inches by 11 inches. That's going to be the spine of our book. We needed this glorious cover, right? You need 2 of them. They're both 8.5 by 11. Okay. Then you need our glorious end papers that are folded. These end papers you don't need today. I would put them, if it were me, with your text block, because you're going to need them with your text block later. So my beautiful end papers that we cut, those are going to go with my, that's right, text block. Good listening skills, good listening skills. Okay, so that's what we did last time. So today, what are we doing? We are going to assemble our book covers. Assembling our book covers. So what do you need? What do you need today? Let's see. Let's make a list. I love lists. Supplies for today. First thing you're going to need is all your cover papers, except for the end paper, right? So you need your front, and let me do it, and back cover paper. You need your spine paper. Okay. You need your front, all your cover boards, right? Your front and back cover board and your spine. So I'm just going to write cover boards so I don't run out of room because you're going to need quite a bit today. Okay. That's what we just discussed. You're also going to need, which I know you guys love. I know you love it. Can you guess what supply you need? Your ruler. Your ruler. And with your ruler, you're going to want a pencil. And if you're prone to make mistakes, which we all are in life, you want that pencil to have a good eraser just in case. Okay, you're also going to need a glue stick. That was one of our supplies for class, so hopefully you have it. I've got one that my children love because you can tell that it's purple where it is. Super cool. Okay, glue stick. Hey, glue stick, you can sit there for right now. You're also going to want white glue. White glue. What's white glue? This stuff, y'all. This stuff. I really don't like it, but we use it a lot. It's really runny and tends to like wobble stuff, so that's why I had you get your scrap of cardboard. Okay, that's going to be our spreader, like a putty knife that we're going to use. Okay, you're also going to want somewhere where you can pour a puddle of glue. And this is really important for you students out there because you really don't want to make your moms mad, right? So please don't pour glue on the table or on one of her favorite dishes, right? She will hunt you down like the turd you are, right? So here's something that I have. I have sticker paper. Let me cut. This sticker paper is fabulous, which I know you guys are like, what is wrong with this lady? We've talked about reusing things, right? So sticker paper is kind of waxy. If you remember when we did like marker washes, or if you've taken an Art 2 class with me, I use sticker paper to do like tie-dye with washable markers. But what we can do is we want to peel off the sticker backing and keep the waxy sticker paper. I'm going to put a puddle of glue on there. Throw away my trash. Okay, I'm going to use that for a puddle. If you don't have sticker paper laying around your house, you know what you do probably have, because you probably have somebody in your house that cooks, right? So you probably have wax paper that you use to cook. If you don't have that, you can use a paper plate, newspaper scraps. Like, basically for number 9, you need a place where you can put a puddle of glue. So I'm going to put trash. Okay, for glue puddle. We are reusing today. Woo woo, go us. Okay, So I'm going to put my marker away. I've got my scraps, and I'm ready for what we're going to do. So I hope you are. I'm really excited. I'm going to move my handy dandy glue a little bit out of my workspace and move this out of my workspace just for now. And I want you to first get your beautiful strip that is for your spine. We're going to mark off where we're going to be putting some glue on it, because when you make a book cover, you want everything to be pretty straight so it doesn't just make you want to scream later. Okay, so with your spine piece, I want you to flip it over so the pretty side is down and you've got your back side, and you're going to take your ruler, which I know y'all love rulers. I know you love them. You should have 4 inches across, right? So here's what I'm going to have you do. We are going to measure a strip on each side of this piece of spine paper that we're going to put glue on and try to line up. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a mark at 1/2 inch, the longest line between 0 and 1. And then we're going to make a mark at 3.5 inches, the longest line between 3 and 4. So we've measured 1/2 inch from the left and 1/2 inch from the right. Okay? I'm going to go down towards the bottom and do the same thing. Line up my 0. I'm going to go 1/2 inch in, and I'm going to go to 3.5 inches. Okay, measure twice. Then you can create your line that goes from the edge of the paper to the edge of the paper. Remember, if I'm going too fast, it's the beauty of online distance learning. You can pause and rewind. Okay, spine, you are great. I'm going to set my spine to the side. And I'm going to look at my front and back cover paper. If you, excuse me, if you're like me and you used scrapbook paper and it has like a perforated edge, this is a great time to hide that perforation. So I want you to kind of lay out your front and back cover and put your spine in the middle. That's what your book's going to look like if you were to do what every librarian tells you not to do and open it face down, right? So all those librarians out there, don't get mad at me. We're not going to do that. We're just setting up our book, okay? So it's going to end up covering some of the sides. So you've got to figure out, this will be your front cover. So if it has words on it that you like, you make sure they're up, right side up. And this will be your back cover, and your spine's going to go here. They're going to overlap where we made that little mark. Okay, they're going to overlap there. But we're going to do that here too, just so we have some extra backup measurements. So this side I didn't cut exactly straight. So I'm going to make this my front, and I want to hide that crooked line. And this side for the back cover is perforated, so I'm going to hide that perforation. So what I'm going to do on my front cover, this is my front cover, is I'm going to go in from the left side of my front cover, and I'm going to measure in 1/2 inch. So I line up 0 and I go in 1/2 inch, slide it down, and I go in 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to connect it down. This is where I'm going to overlap my spine. Okay, it's going to overlap right there and look really pretty. Now on my back cover, which is right here, my back cover, I'm going to turn my ruler just so that I have 0 on the right side. So on the right side of my back cover, I'm going to measure in 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to measure in 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to connect those. Okay. Now when we do this in school, we use rubber cement. Okay, I have some, but I'm not going to use it because I figured most of you guys don't have any. And I didn't want to use things that you wouldn't have at home, because I didn't make you get this. If you're in my class, it wasn't on the supply list. But if you have rubber cement at home, the beautiful thing about rubber cement is it dry bonds. So what you could do is put rubber cement on each of these strips and let it dry. And then put rubber cement on each of these strips of your spine and let it dry. And then when you adhere it, it makes a perfect bond. It's beautiful and wonderful, and we use that in the classroom, but this time we are not in the classroom. So instead, we are going to use our handy dandy glue stick. Now, like I've told you a million times, don't make your mom mad, right? So I have a scrap sheet of copy paper. Actually, let me use one that I've already sketched something on for one of my AP kids. So ignore my beautiful sketch. I'm going to line it up just so that I don't get any glue on my table, right? We love our moms and our dads, and we don't want to get glue on our tables because that's not fun. So I'm going to take my glue stick. Woo, brand new. Whoop, whoop. Okay. I'm going to put glue on my back cover, and then I'm going to very carefully line up my spine, okay? very carefully. I like to use a good amount of glue, but not so much that it's yucky and wobbly. So if I get chunks like that, I just kind of roll it down and scrape it. There we go. Because sometimes glue stick dries and looks disgusting, right? So I don't really want to go past my line. I can go onto the copy paper all I want. That is not a big deal. But I don't really want to get it on the cover of my book and then have this ugly, rubbery looking substance on there forever, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spine and very carefully line it up. There we go. And I'm actually going to use the side of a ruler. You could just smooth it out with whatever you have. But I'm going to line it up, smooth it down. And you see where I got a little bit extra? I'll try to rub that off so it doesn't make it yucky. And then you know what I'm going to do? It's not perfect. I'm going to roll with it. That's what we got to do in life, right? Got to roll with our mistakes. So it's not perfect here. It's all good. All good. It's okay. Okay, so I've got my back cover adhered to my spine. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to attach the spine to the front cover, right? So I'm going to do the same thing. Well, actually, I'm just going to rotate this so that I get glue in kind of the same spot. I am right-handed, so I'm just making sure that I do this the right way. This is our front cover, right? So I'm going to put glue on here. Make it nice and sticky. If you are wondering what else you could use this visual journal idea for, if you like this and want to make something for a different class, these are great for writing in. If you're a writer or a journalist, I like to keep a gratitude journal, and they are fun to write in. You don't have to always have lined paper, right? Okay, glue stick, done. I'm just going to keep that piece of scrap paper underneath, and I'm going to take my handy dandy spine and adhere it to the front cover. So I'm lining it up. And then like I showed you before, I'm going to use the edge of my scissor handle. You could use a driver's license or those crummy credit card things you get in the mail that are like fake credit cards. I use those a lot to smooth things out. Okay. And glue. Done. Now, I'll let that dry. I've got my beautiful cover paper made. And you're like, woohoo, I'm done for today. No, I'm sorry, you were not done for today. You did something really simple, but we're going to make it a little bit more challenging, right? So you've got your back cover, your spine, your front cover. It's wobbling a little bit because that's what glue does to paper, and that is okay. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to figure out how to glue our boards on. You remember these boards? These beautiful boards? We're going to figure out how to glue these on. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. It really doesn't matter top from bottom right now. But I want you to look at what we're going to do. I'm going to take my little putty knife, trashy putty knife, and move it. It really doesn't matter if it says back or front, right? It doesn't matter right now. So I'm just going to hide those. What we're going to do is kind of line them up to look and see kind of how it's going to go. And there's my spine. Notice that when we glue this, which we're not doing right now, I'm not going to put my front cover far away from my spine. I have a lot of kids who will try to put it right where that seam is for the front and back cover. That would be too big of a fold. So I'm gonna repeat that like 1,000,000 times to the point where you're gonna be like, gosh, quit talking. But just so you remember, it doesn't line up with the scrapbook paper. It's going to be pretty close to the spine. You're going to leave a gap there because that's where the book folds. You want that paper to be not touching. If they were right beside each other and it was glued flat, you wouldn't be able to bend your book, right? There's not enough room. So we give it a little bit of space, okay? So you can set your cover boards aside. You're going to get that favorite art supply that you love, your ruler. I know, you'll love it. You're like, whoa. Okay, so if you remember, we made this 11 inches, right? And our covers and our spine are 9 inches long. So what we're going to do is we're going to block off 1 inch on each side, okay? So that way we have room to fit it. So if you're like, what did she just say? What's happening right now? Just rewind. It'll be okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go towards the left of my spine a little bit. I'm going to line up my ruler at the bottom. And I'm going to mark off at 1. And I'm going to mark off at 10. Okay, that way I've trapped 9 inches in there because 10 minus 1 is 9, right? and our covers are 9 inches long. Our spine is 9 inches long. So I'm going to move my ruler to the right side of my spine paper. So I'm on the front cover paper, and I'm going to mark off at 1, and I'm going to mark off at 10. So I've trapped 9 inches in there. Guess what I'm going to do, y'all? You guessed it. You betcha. I'm going to go across all the way. We might extend those lines a little bit, but for right now, we are rolling with it because we are awesome. We're doing what we got to do. So what we've created is we've created a top line and a base line where we've estimated how to place these so they don't get shifted vertically. So we're figuring out how to put these boards on here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to measure off where the spine goes. Okay, so I'm going to make some marks. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure from the edge of the scrapbook paper just so that we have good markings. I'm going to measure below my baseline on the spine paper. I'm going to line up my 0 with the left side of the scrapbook paper. So I'm on the back side here. I've lined up my 0. And my spine is 3 inches across on the back. Okay, so 3 inches across on the back, I'm going to make several marks. Okay, my spine is going to go somewhere kind of in the middle. So what I want to do is kind of figure out where I need the folds and the spine spots. So I want you, this is for those of you that really struggle with math. You might want to pay close attention. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Some kids struggle with inches and how to figure that out in a ruler. Okay, we're going to make a mark at 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch, the quarter inches are the longer lines, right, on your ruler, okay? The halfway mark is 2/4, right, because 2/4 is the same as 1/2, yeah? Okay? So 3/4 of an inch, I go 1, 2, 3. It's the longest line between 1/2 inch and 1. Okay, if you already knew that and you feel like I'm talking down to you, I'm not. Some kids really struggle with rulers, and I'm not here to help you, so I'm doing my best to help you this way. Okay, so we went over 3/4 of an inch. From there, we want to go to 1 1/4. So 1 1/4, you go from 1, you pop over 1/4 inch, which is the longest line between 1 and 1 1/2. Okay, so in between here, you've trapped in 1/2 inch. Okay, so we're just double checking our work. After we've double checked our work, we are going to go to 1 3/4. So we have 1 inch and 3/4. If it helps, you can go 1 inch and you can go 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. It's going to be the longest line between 1 1/2 and 2. Okay, it should be about evenly spaced. Your lines that you've made are evenly spaced. You've got 3 marks and you've got 2 columns between that are evenly spaced. Okay, so from there, we are going to make a mark at 2 1/4. So 2 1/4, go 2 1/4 over. So if it helps you, I'm going to write down where we did. We did 3/4, we did 1 1/4, we did 1 3/4, and then we did 2 1/4. Okay, so what I was trying to explain to you is that each of these marks, I've created 3 little columns, and they're all 1/2 inch. Okay, so far so good. Hopefully you're not totally confused. What I want you to do, and I'm going to leave my camera kind of set up the way it is. I'm going to slide my ruler down a little bit so you can see. If it were me, I would scroll my ruler up to the top bar here to where you can make the same marks. That's totally fine. But since I want everything on the camera so that you can see, I'm going to do mine a little bit lower, which means my lines might be crooked, but that's okay. Okay. So you're going to make marks at the same places. You're going to go 3/4, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, and 2 1/4. I'm actually going to do mine up high again just so I don't get crooked, because I am going to make this for my daughter and I don't want it to be messed up. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out. Hopefully you did all your marks that you need. You do not have to do 3 marks like I did. Hopefully you just did yours up here. What you're going to do now is you're going to connect them between our 2 horizontal lines. Connect, connect, connect. And connect. Okay, so now every year what I have my kids do when we're making this book is I have them jot down some notes for themselves so they don't get confused and frustrated. So what you're going to do is with your pencil, you have these 3 columns right here. And then you have the edges of the scrapbook paper. And that's where I told you kids always mess up and they try to put their cardboard there. What I want you to do is draw some arrows that go over the paper bump and point to that line. Okay? Over the paper bump, over the paper bump, over the paper bump. Okay? That will remind you not to glue your cardboard here, to slide it to that line. Okay? If you remember, you can see, I'm going to do it right now so y'all can see. This is how we're going to place our boards. Okay? So what that means is for your book cover, I want you to remember that these are empty, right? So with those 3 columns that we just did, I want you to write empty, spine, empty, so that you remember. I know that you're feeling like this is a step you don't need, but trust me, every year I have a kid screw up this part and we have to start over because it's stuck and we can't undo it and they get really mad. So just take the few seconds you need to make sure that you are crossing your T's and dotting your I's and not making unnecessary mistakes. So you should have your boards handy. There's one step we need to do before we glue. Go ahead and put your spine where you wrote spine. Okay. Then what I want you to do is take your cover and pretend like you're gluing it down. Put it where it needs to go, right beside the line that says empty on either side, your front cover and your back cover. Doesn't matter which is which. They should be the same size. Okay. Then I want you to use your pencil to just kind of trace a line on the edge. That just lets us know how far out we need to do the glue. Okay. So I just traced a little bit here. So far, so good. Okay. So this is where I need you to get your trashy piece, right? The piece of paper or the scrap trash. Maybe it's an old meat tray that you've cleaned out, hopefully, so you don't get salmonella or anything crazy. But somewhere where we can put our puddle of glue, right? Okay. And you've got your scraper. Okay, you've got your scraping tool. So far, so good. Hopefully everybody's good. What we are going to do now is we're going to take our Elmer's glue. Mine's been sitting in my art supplies for a while, so I shook it up a little bit. But you're going to make yourself a puddle so you can just pour it straight from the container. Don't make a giant puddle. You won't need a whole lot, surprisingly. I have kids who waste a lot of glue. White glue is not my favorite because it tends to ripple up paper. And rippling up paper is annoying, especially when you're trying to make something pretty like the book that we are making. So what we're going to do is we're going to treat it like when you spackle something. Like if you're like me and one of your dogs ate a hole through your wall, you put some spackle there and you want it to be smooth. So I use that trashy putty piece I told you to save. Get a little bit of glue on it. And I'm rubbing it across where that spine piece is. I don't need a lot. What I tell my students at school is to treat it like a snail trail, where you can't see it being milky. It's just wet there and kind of slimy looking. Okay? I'm spreading it out. It's okay to go past the lines. It's okay to go in the spots where it says empty. Okay? Spreading it out. And then it'll dry kind of quick. So what I want to do is lay my spine down. If you're not perfect, you can wiggle it a little bit. That's one of the cool things about white glue. And press it really well. Okay? So from there, what we're going to do, we're going to take our front cover and we're going to make sure that we know exactly where it goes, right? Save your empty spot. So what we're going to do is take our glue a little bit and we're going to cover the whole area where that cardboard's going to go. It's okay to go past the lines, remember? So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go here. Make sure it doesn't dry on you, that you don't sit there forever spreading the glue and that it dries. If it does, just put a little bit more glue. But you want to work kind of quickly, which I know for some of you is a bit of a challenge because you want to take your time, make it perfect, but you don't want it to dry on you. So go ahead, line it up on the side that says empty. This is the part where kids try to line it up in the wrong spot. So push it to where the arrows point and line it up. Now what I want you to do is give it a good rub. Because if you've ever put like a screen protector on a cell phone, you know that sometimes bubbles can get trapped in. And that's really annoying. Okay, so I'm going to give it a good rub. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do the second piece of cardboard. So I just moved my trashy piece so I have the puddle closer. I'm going to need a little bit more glue. So just estimate where you need the glue to go. How much glue are you going to need? We'll still need the glue later, so don't stress out if you over pour. Okay, I'm going to take my beautiful scraper piece and I'm going to putty out some glue. Okay, and putty it down. And I'm making sure it's nice and smooth. And then I've covered everything well. I don't have any dry spots because I don't want any air bubbles in there. So I'm covering it. Okay, and from there I'm going to take my board, line it up with where that line is. And I'm going to make sure it's nice and tight, smooth and beautiful. Okay, now what I'm going to do, if you don't have a hot mess, you can do this too. But if you have a hot mess, don't do it. But I'm going to rub the other side just to make sure I've covered everything really well. Okay, sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes it's not, if you made a hot mess. Okay, I got a little bit of glue there. Wipe it up with a rag that I have handy. Or a tissue. If you have tissue, that's fine. Okay, so far so good. So we're almost done. We have a little bit left to do. We're going to fold and straighten it up a little bit. So if you're like me, I don't like folding a lot of extra paper. You could totally fold with extra paper if you want, but I'm not going to. I'm going to trim off some of this. So I'm just trying to keep a good border. I'm basically cutting what's left over in half, if you notice that. I cut whatever was left over in half, okay? I didn't want to have a big border around it. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm cutting about half of that width off. I'm going to set these over to be saved because they're pretty. You can always use them for something else. Okay, when it comes to bookmaking, you want to have really nice folds for this part. Okay, so I might use my scissors just to like use the edge to make good folds. You can also do this with a credit card or something like that. But I'm going to take every corner. Notice I don't have any glue. Just taking my corners. And I want it right on the edge of that corner. I don't want to do it like way far out. I have students do it way far out. Don't do that. Also, don't pull it so it tears, right? Be gentle but firm. Just like you should be with your boundaries in life, right? Gentle and firm. Okay, you're going to fold that corner. Give it a good crease. That's where I'm using the handle edge. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. The other tip and what I tell my students is to do it at a 90-degree angle. That way you're not crooked with your point, okay? Your point should kind of mimic the corners of the book, right? So I'm pulling it down to touch the cardboard, and I'm being gentle and firm. And gentle and firm. Okay, so I've got my covers kind of folded. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, I'm being gentle and firm by pulling it as close to the cardboard as I can. And I've got it there. I'll do the next one. Over here is where I just glued, so my glue's still a little wet. That's okay. Okay, not a huge deal. Just trying to get my corners folded really well. Okay, so from there I want my beautiful little puddle back. So I'm actually going to do my puddle over here so y'all can see. I don't need a whole lot of glue. Remember, it's always better to pour more glue later than to pour too much and not have enough. I'm going to try to get everything in the view of the camera. Okay, so pour myself a little bit of glue. And there we go. Okay, and I'm going to use my putty spreader, and I'm going to spread it onto the cardboard. I got a little bit off the edge, which isn't a huge deal, and then I'm going to flatten it out. Okay, I'm going to do that to all four corners. I'm going to put glue on there. And I'm going to flatten it out. Okay, I'm going to put glue on the corner. Go ahead and do that one while I'm at it. Okay, you don't need too much glue. If you use too much white glue, your paper ripples up and you end up not liking it. You'll probably remember that from elementary school when you'd use too much glue in your class and your paper would ripple and it'd make you mad. I never liked that either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors edge and just kind of smooth that out like we did on the front when I flipped it over, smoothing it out. Okay, so from here, I've got my corners pretty secure. They're still a little wet, but that's okay. We start with the shorter sides first because that's easier. What you're going to do is you're going to bend it really well all the way up to the cardboard edge. Okay? And you're going to be gentle and firm and pull it over. And sometimes it'll refold these, and that's okay. You can try to keep it the same fold if you want to, but sometimes it'll refold it a little bit. What I like to do, remember we fold before we glue, give myself a good edge there. And then I'll go ahead and redo that crease a little bit with the edge of my handle. Okay? I'm just going to go ahead and glue that down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go right over that little corner, exactly where we already were. I'm running out of glue, so I'm probably going to have to get some more. Spread it thin. Okay? It might pop back up on you, especially if you have stiffer paper. Like cardstock can be a little stiff. And that's why we're going to press it. Okay, so we're going to smooth that out. Okay, it's nice and neat. You're going to do the same thing to the other side. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more glue. And I'm going to take it and give myself a good firm pull over. Being nice and assertive. Not too firm that I rip it, right? I like to give myself a good fold. And then give myself a good fold. Okay? And then I'm going to take my white glue putty knife and spread it across. You don't want too much. Keep it like a snail trail, right? Not too much, that it's goopy. Got it. And you're going to flatten it. Maybe push those air bubbles out. Make sure it's sticking. Okay. I find that the longer sides are often difficult for kids if they have really stiff paper because it doesn't always like to stay down. Okay. So when we do the longer sides, I would start at the corner, kind of start prepping your fold, but just going part of the way up and then go to the spine, start prepping your fold. It's just such a long span of space. It's a little bit harder to get a good fold. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go across with the edge of my scissors just to kind of get it nice and firm. And I'm going to bend it over. Okay, so when I do my glue, the empty spots don't really need glue in them. Okay, guys? You're just sticking it to the cardboard. You don't need to worry about the empty spots. I know that sounds crazy, and you're probably like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But trust me, I know what I'm talking about. You don't really need glue there. Okay? So I'm going to take my glue. I'm going to try not to get too much. It looks like I got a little bit too much there. It's real milky looking. So I'm going to scrape it over onto the spine and over here. Too much, too much. Too much, goodness. Let me scrape some of it back off onto my extra piece. Okay. And I'm going to take it here. There we go. Make it firm. Use the edge of my scissors. Push that glue, get all the air bubbles out. Nice, beautiful. Okay, now I'll flip this over. Got glue on my fingers, so I'm getting that off. Okay, and from here I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Start at a corner. work my way over, just folding it, prepping that fold, getting it ready to be bent, the angle I need it to be. Okay. Start to bend it more. Maybe now is a good time to go ahead and lift it and rub across. Pull it down. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to use my glue. This is the last time we're going to need this glue for today, but don't throw this away. Keep this for tomorrow. We need this to kind of set up overnight. So hopefully you have a good place to put this so that it settles, because you're going to want to reuse this glue. You don't need to have to hunt for more trash to use for your glue puddle or your spreader, right? You can just let it dry. Okay, so I'm going to spread that thin and lay that here. And then I'm going to use my scissors blade or a driver's license, credit card, something like that, debit card, whatever. Or like I told you earlier, those fake ones you get in the mail. Hopefully none of you guys already have credit cards. Alright, and there we go. Beautiful. Okay, now if you're in my class, this is where I want you to take a photo. If you're not in my class, just hang tight for a hot minute. So I've been taking photos with my iPad. I want to be able to see it from this side so I can make sure all your folds are done correctly. And I want to be able to see it from the other side, but you might have to hold. So if your hand's in your picture, it's not a huge deal. Okay, just so I can see both sides. Make sure you did a good job. Okay, then what I want you to do is to take a piece of scrap paper. It could be the same one you use for glue. You don't want this to stick to other things, so if you need another sheet of scrap paper, that's fine. Or you could use some wax paper. I just don't want you to use all the waxy paper that your mom has in the house or dad. Okay, then you're going to want to press this under something firm so that we can get to it tomorrow. So I have this scrap board that we use for other things. I'm just going to press it down. You could use a piece of wood from a scrap heap or old books. I use old books at school. Don't tell my bosses, they might get upset, but that's what I use textbooks for. Then you can use some weight on top. Old books, you don't really need the extra weight, but I'm using about 30 pounds, 15 plus 15. You don't need that much. It's probably overkill, but I'm going to let that sit and dry like this so that tomorrow when I get it, that glue is nice and stiff and it's really well smashed down. So I'm going to make sure it's just on there nice and tight. Okay, so tune in next time and I will see you later.